What's up, WrestleScope family? And I'm not even going to pretend like this is a normal video, because nothing about what happened is normal. If you're watching this right now, then you already know the wrestling world is on fire. Social media is in complete chaos. Fans are divided. The WWE locker room is reportedly in shambles. And it's all because of what Bron Breakker did to Paul Heyman. But here's what nobody is talking about. Here's what the dirt sheets won't tell you. Here's what WWE is desperately trying to cover up right now. This wasn't just an attack. This wasn't just a young star going rogue. This was a calculated destruction of everything Paul Heyman has built. And I've got receipts. I've got sources. And I've got the real story behind why Bron Breakker just committed career suicide. Or did he commit the smartest move in modern wrestling history? Hello viewers, if you're new here, please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for daily updates on WWE Raw. Stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal is going to blow your mind. But first, if you're as furious about this as I am, smash that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me if you think Bron is a traitor or a genius. Let's get into it. The attack breakdown. All right, let's talk about what actually happened. Because if you missed it, you missed one of the most brutal and disrespectful moments in recent WWE history. It was supposed to be a normal night. Paul Heyman, the wise man himself, was backstage conducting what sources are calling a vision meeting with his stable of future stars. For those who don't know, the vision has been Paul Heyman's pet project, his master plan to build the next generation of WWE superstars under his guidance. We're talking about some of the most talented athletes in the company, all being mentored by arguably the greatest manager in wrestling history. Bron Breakker was the crown jewel of this group, the son of Rick Steiner, nephew of Scott Steiner, carrying one of the most legendary bloodlines in professional wrestling. Heyman handpicked him. He saw in Bron what he saw in Brock Lesnar 20 years ago, a legitimate athlete with the look, the intensity, and the raw power to be the next big thing, the next monster, the next Paul Heyman guy. But something happened during this meeting. According to my sources who were there, and I'm talking about people with direct knowledge of what went down, the tension had been building for weeks. Heyman apparently had been pushing Bron to be more cerebral, more calculated in his approach. He wanted him to cut promos a certain way, to wrestle a certain style, to essentially become Heyman's vision of what Bron should be. And Bron wanted to be exactly what his family name represents, an aggressive, hard-hitting, no-nonsense powerhouse who lets his fists and suplexes do the talking. So picture this. They're in this meeting room. Heyman is going over the plan for Bron's next few months. He's talking about character development, about long-term storytelling, about being patient. And that's when Bron stands up. Sources say he stood up, looked Heyman dead in the eyes, and said, "I'm done being your guy. It's time I become my guy." Now Heyman, being the master manipulator he is, tried to talk him down. He started doing what he does best, cutting a promo, trying to convince Bron that he's making a mistake, that walking away from the vision is walking away from guaranteed success. He invoked the names of Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, and even Roman Reigns, talking about how following his guidance made them all legends. And that's when it happened. Bron Breakker grabbed Paul Heyman by his shirt collar. The room went silent. Everyone backstage who witnessed this said you could hear a pin drop, because nobody puts hands on Paul Heyman, not without consequences, not without Roman Reigns or the bloodline coming for retribution. But Bron didn't care. He pulled Heyman close and, according to the people who were there, he said something that I can't repeat word for word on this channel. But the gist was this: "You don't own me. You never did. And you never will." Then he threw Heyman across a table. Not a breakaway table, a real production table, covered with scripts, monitors, and equipment. Heyman crashed through it. Papers flying everywhere, equipment smashing on the ground. The sound, witnesses said, echoed through the entire backstage area. But Bron wasn't done. He walked over to where Heyman was lying in the wreckage, looked down at him, and delivered the most disrespectful line I've heard in years. "The only vision I see is you flat on your back, old man. This is my time, not yours." Then he walked out, just walked out, left Heyman lying there, left the vision in shambles, left the entire WWE universe stunned. The fallout and reactions. Now, let's talk about the immediate fallout, because this is where things get really interesting. And this is where I start getting angry about how WWE and certain people are spinning this narrative. Within minutes of this happening, social media exploded. And I mean exploded. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, every wrestling forum on the internet was going crazy. But here's what got me heated. The reactions were split right down the middle. You've got one group of fans saying Bron Breakker is a disrespectful punk who just destroyed his own career by disrespecting a legend like Paul Heyman. They're saying he's ungrateful, that he doesn't understand the business, that he just bit the hand that feeds him. And then you've got another group, my group, the people who actually understand what's happening here, saying that Bron just did what every young wrestler should do, take control of their own destiny. Let me explain why I'm on Bron's side, and why, if you're not, you're looking at this situation all wrong. Paul Heyman is a genius. Nobody can deny that. He's one of the greatest minds in wrestling history. But here's what people conveniently forget. Paul Heyman is also one of the most controlling figures in wrestling history. ECW? Brilliant. But how many wrestlers has Paul thrown under the bus when it suited him? How many Paul Heyman guys ended up being forgotten the moment Paul found a newer, shinier toy? Let's look at the facts. CM Punk was a Paul Heyman guy until he wasn't. Cesaro was a Paul Heyman guy until Paul decided he wasn't worth the investment anymore. Even look at Curtis Axel, who got rebranded as a Heyman guy, and where is he now? Heyman's track record of loyalty is actually pretty terrible when you really examine it. The only Paul Heyman guy who maintained long-term success is Brock Lesnar. And you know why? Because Brock had the power to walk away anytime he wanted. Brock never needed Paul. Paul needed Brock. Roman Reigns? He grew beyond needing Paul Heyman. By the time their partnership ended, Roman was already the tribal chief. He had already established himself as the guy in WWE. He used Heyman and then moved on. So here comes Bron Breakker, a young lion with everything to prove, with a legendary family name to live up to, and he's being told to slow down, be patient, do things Paul's way. And Bron looked around and saw the writing on the wall. He saw that if he stayed in the vision, he would always be known as just another Paul Heyman guy. He would always be in Paul's shadow. Every accomplishment would be credited to Heyman's guidance. Every failure would be blamed on Bron not listening to Heyman enough. So yeah, he got physical. Yeah, he crossed a line. But you know what? Sometimes you have to cross lines to be taken seriously in this business. Stone Cold Steve Austin stunned his boss and became the biggest star in wrestling history. CM Punk cut a promo that buried the entire company and became a legend. Bron Breakker physically removed himself from under Paul Heyman's thumb, and people want to act like he's the bad guy? The WWE locker room is reportedly split on this. Some veterans are saying Bron went too far, that you don't put hands on the legend like Paul Heyman. But multiple sources have told me that some of the younger roster members are quietly applauding what Bron did, because they felt the same way about being micromanaged and controlled by the old guard. Even some main roster stars, who I obviously can't name, have privately reached out to Bron and given him respect for standing up for himself. Because here's a secret that WWE doesn't want you to know. There are a lot of wrestlers who are tired of the same old politics, the same old gatekeepers, the same old system of having to play the game and kiss the ring to get ahead. The vision crumbles. Now let's talk about the vision itself and why this whole situation is so much bigger than just Bron and Paul. The vision was supposed to be Paul Heyman's final legacy project. After years of managing individual stars, Paul wanted to build an entire stable of future champions. He wanted to create a system, a philosophy, a way of developing talent that would outlast him. It was supposed to be his gift to WWE, his way of ensuring that the next generation would be better prepared, better trained, and better equipped to handle the pressures of being at the top. Noble goal, right? Sounds great on paper. Except here's the problem. The vision wasn't about making stars. It was about making Paul Heyman guys. There's a difference. According to people within the group, and I've spoken to multiple sources who are still part of the vision, the entire structure was built around loyalty to Paul first, personal development second. There were rules, there were expectations. You couldn't take independent bookings without Paul's approval. You couldn't cut promos that deviated from the message. You couldn't develop your character in ways that didn't fit Paul's vision for who you should be. Does that sound like mentorship to you? Or does that sound like control? Bron wasn't the first person to have issues with the vision. He was just the first person brave enough or crazy enough, depending on your perspective, to do something about it publicly. Sources tell me that at least 3 other members of the vision have expressed concerns about the direction of the group. They felt stifled creatively. They felt like they're being molded into